Tonight we're going to review a Fender Player 2 Stratocaster, but it's not the regular model here. The Fender Player 2 Stratocaster typically looks like this. They run you $800, and they come in a variety of different finishes, pickup and fretboard choices, as well as other limited editions like Forest Green or Sparkle 3-Color Sunburst. But the one we're talking about tonight is actually a Guitar Center Musician's Friend exclusive model. That's way different. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Everyone say thank you to Chad for sharing his new guitar with us through the New Guitar Day program. This is a much more different looking one than what we just saw. It's a lot of fun. Full disclosure, as a reviewer, I have not actually reviewed the base level model of this particular instrument. However, this new one, just looking at it, you can tell this is like way different. What's going on? It's basically a super highly modified, upgraded version with a few cosmetic details that are different. The first thing you might notice is check out the finish. This is actually called Daphne Blue, and they offer these in two different hues. Besides this one, you can also get an Arctic White. You'll also notice that these are a very sleek satin finish as opposed to the full gloss that the other base level models come in. That has a really nice feeling not only on the neck, but also the body. This is one of those high quality feeling ones. But then they accent your new finish by blacking everything out, including your plastics, all of your hardware, and check out your fretboard. Instead of rosewood or maple options, you have a unmarkered ebony board. That's sweet. They upgraded us to higher end locking Fender tuners rather than the vintage style ones. And hey, did you notice this has the larger late 60s, 70s style headstock versus the smaller ones that the regular model has. And not only is this now an HSS Stratocaster, there are regular versions like that, but this one has been upgraded with Seymour Duncan pickups that we'll talk about more on the Workbench. But perhaps my favorite spec that made me excited to review this, it's a hardtail. That's what the HT in the title stands for. Fender Player 2 Advanced Stratocaster HSS HT LE Daphne Blue. HSS standing for Humbucker Single Single, HT Hardtail LE Limited Edition. They also changed up our fretboard radius to 12 inches, and I believe we get slightly taller frets on this one too. So at first glance, a regular Player 2 is between $800 and $900 depending on how you've spec'd it, whereas these new ones have a $300 premium to them at $1,200 new, but they really have changed almost everything about this. It deserves the advanced in its title. The only thing for me is looking on the website of the stock photos, I thought it was a really odd choice to tint the neck yellow on these because it really doesn't match with the white guitar. And I didn't think it was the best on the blue, but when Chad asked me, do you think I should go for blue or white? That's the reason why I said blue. But now that I'm seeing it in person, it doesn't seem quite as jarring. However, I still think on the white one, a more pure maple look would have been cooler, but I think this actually looks pretty nice. But I found this really interesting. I have not seen this on Fenders before. It's labeled made in Ensenada, but since our serial number starts MX, we know it was Mexico, so it's Ensenada, Mexico. That feels a bit misleading to me, but technically they're just being even more specific as to where in Mexico it's being made. If you know all about Fender serial numbers and their production, it's not necessarily a surprise, but somebody who's not as familiar might be confused by that. Personally, I liked it better when it said made in Mexico. Straightforward and clear. Maybe we could make it say made in Ensenada, Mexico, to be a bit more clear on where it's made. But at this price, did they upgrade us to a hardshell case? Nope. Just a gig bag, similar to the Fender Japans. And as far as case candy goes, you get the straps for your gig bag if you want to put them on. Fender Online Lessons hang tag with matching sign-off hang tag. And hey, check it out. This one comes stock with Schaller strap locks. So you get the counterparts in here, as well as your truss rod tool and your owner's manual. So to learn more about this one, let's go ahead and throw it onto the Workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside the Advanced Stratocaster, let's go ahead and check out these pickups first. So they're Seymour Duncan branded on the outside, but it's the JB-TB4 bridge pickup. Then both of these are the same model known as the Custom Flat Strat, SSL6. I would assume the flat part comes from all their pole pieces being even, but if you're curious how the body is routed, it's actually for HSH setup. So if you like everything else that this run does and you wanted to modify it further, you could, but the whole point of buying this is so you get the stock Seymour Duncans, which are supposed to be pretty nice. So here we can see the SSL6 branding for both our neck and middle pickup. Then here's visual confirmation of the TB4 for the bridge. But now as far as our wiring, we're utilizing 2 500K pots and 1 250. The reason for that being you want 500 or so for a humbucker, whereas your single coils prefer 250. I'd say the solder work looks very nice across the board. And judging from back here, we don't have any coil splitting abilities for that bridge humbucker, or S1 switches, or whatever they want to call it. Just a regular toggle. But you can see our shielding back here, as well as a barcode on the back of our pickguard. Then we do have another barcode in the body, but it was mainly ripped out. The rest of it has shielding paint over it on the bottom side. However, we can't actually see the exposed alder body along our edges here. We can see at least one seam line right here in our neck pickup cavity, but then if we extend over here, you can see another one right there. But you know what? On closer inspection, that just might be a grain line, because the woods match up really good right there. But this one, we can definitely confirm it's a seam line. So at least a 3-piece body would be my official guess. But from the grain I'm seeing here, I would like to see this done up in a natural finish too. This little CNC router bit extension here normally has a sticker covering over it, but it was peeling up anyway, so I thought let's take it out. And even though the wood grain looks really cool from this angle, from straight on, I guess I can see why they would just leave it plain. But it looks like we do have some sort of a sign-off code in there. We'll just put that back in place for Chad. Otherwise, we have our shielding ground off right here. And then as far as our output jack, I don't remember them being routed exactly like this, but we haven't reviewed a made in Mexico Fender in a while. The route nearly appears to be bullet shaped now, and we don't have any additional shielding in here. But what I did find interesting is this. They routed a little bit deeper in that section, and you can see how far over that goes. So I'm curious, did they do that before they put the third piece of the body on over? Or are they routing it down like this and then routing it out somehow? Because that suggests that the end of the drill bit's like right here. But our output jack just looks like our normal one. So that's what's kind of unique about this model in general. Depending on the version you get, we were just talking about the baseline level ones. They have mahogany bodies, they have chambered ash. This particular one is alder. So depending on your preferences determines which color you should get. And just as I was about to put the pickguard back on, I noticed something interesting. They must have over-routed this particular hole because they have a little dowel there. A little piece of wood just to secure that hole a little bit better. Typically, if a hole's slightly stripped out like that, they just leave it be and ship it out anyway. So that's actually nice to see. But now that I have it back on, I can't say that they're all fully secure. That happens on most new Fenders. This one doesn't stop turning, but it's still secure enough, like it's not going to fall out. So I wouldn't consider it completely stripped, but also these two for the output jack are the same. So kind of interesting that they would dowel one, but then not those additionals. Is that going to affect the playability of the instrument? No. Well, now let's get our pickup readings. Our bridge is really hot, 1711. Neck position, 1362. Middle, 1343, then bridge and middle together 763, and these two 684. That seems pretty hot for a single coil, so I went to their website and they say the SSL6 is their version of a classic overwound medium output Strat pickup with a flat magnet pattern for beefing up guitars with lighter strings and flatter fretboards. I had to check that just to make sure that these were actually single coils and not stacked humbuckers. But this is a master volume for all three pickups, and then this tone select is for the neck and middle only, and this tone is strictly for the bridge pickup. And this is just a regular neck, middle, 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 bridge, bridge. But if you didn't understand what I was talking about, a hardtail, that means we don't have a trem system. To a guy like me that's mainly stop bar tailpiece Les Pauls, I love them. They're fantastic. I don't want to deal with it. It also means you get string-through ferrules in the back similar to a Telecaster, and you don't have to route it out for a trem system either. So it just changes everything about the Strat's body. It just secures to the top utilizing, it looks like 4 screws underneath our block saddles, which are extra big and chunky, which is another upgrade here. As far as fit and finish on this thing, it's so nice and smooth. I love it. That kind of robin egg blue finish is great for the season, but yet it's so dark and evil, it's not necessarily just Easter and spring. But then you move on from your alder body to your maple neck with our ebony fretboard, just jet black ebony. Now, something to keep in mind if you're ordering one of these things blind. They don't tell you you're going to get straight ebony. You will find some streakiness in this yellow color, and sometimes that can be a little bit more prevalent throughout the fretboard. A really cool run that Guitar Center did in the past was the Pale Moon Ebony Stratocasters and Telecasters, where all of them were uniquely streaked. So if you take a step back, you can actually see some light streaking throughout it, but that's just going to vary example to example. But I did go ahead and condition this since there was some weird stuff on the fretboard up here that cleaned off. But remember how these were talking about flatter fretboards? I wonder if that's why they chose to put this as a 12-inch fretboard radius. That's what I find on most of my Les Pauls, so that's cool to find that on a Stratocaster. But don't worry, still a 25.5-inch scale length. And then I measure about a 1.7-inch nut width, increasing to nearly 2.04 by the 12th. I get a 0.8 first fret neck depth. Wow, that stays slim. 0.83 by the 12th. Here's a look at that neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret. Just a nice rounded C. But I think my favorite thing has to be the playability so far. I strummed it a little bit before taking it apart, and they've rolled this fretboard edge so beautifully, and it looks great without the fret markers. But don't worry, you still have them on the side to help you know where you are. But I'm impressed by the fretwork on this straight out of the factory. Look how shiny that is. And this is just regular production, not necessarily something special. They've really rounded the edges of the frets as well. They're quite tall. Some might even argue too tall, but you've got 22 jumbo frets. And this is a synthetic bone nut that they put their tinted lacquer over the side just for fun. But looking at the headstock, we get the continuation of the black hardware, including our locking tuners, the black string tree, that's really eye-catching. Matches our plastic cap truss rod where we've got head access. And as far as the branding, just says Fender Stratocaster with our big headstock. And now that we've got it all strung back up, let's go ahead and flip it on over to the back side. We've already covered the string through ferrules, so that also means we don't have a back plate or any screws to worry about there, just our 4-bolt-on neck. When this first came to me, it had a plastic covering over it, so I took that off, and you can see it definitely affects the back plate a little bit and puts a haze on it. But otherwise, it's your regular Stratocaster as far as its contours. And as far as fit and finish, everything looks really good to me. If we want to get nitpicky, I did notice one contamination. There's just a small something in the finish right there. You can feel it. I wouldn't suggest picking at that because you might chip the finish eventually. So I'll have to let Chad know about that. But thankfully, no neck pocket cracks or anything like that. But then we just have that natural maple neck with a light tinting to it. You can see your exposed skunk stripe. And then our serial number, MX24108815, made in Ensenada, Mexico. But all said and done, this particular example weighs 7 pounds, 8.6 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how these pickups sound. Yeah, so far I would say that pickup description matches that perfectly. Very dark sounding for a single coil. That's our neck position there. And that's from humbucker to single coil. And then the in-between position still has that nice glassy tone to it. I think that's my favorite position on this guitar. It's got great leads. Let's try some dirt. Yeah, that'd make a great chuggy rhythm guitar because you don't have to worry about it falling out of tune as much. And it's just got some really good chugs. So there we go, the Fender Player 2 Advanced Stratocaster. What are my final thoughts on this thing? I hate to say it, but I recorded this episode the same day as a guitar that cost about 5 times as much, and I preferred this one. Fender Mexico, congratulations, this is a fantastic guitar. I mean, what just boggles my mind is they are putting the extra step here to give you nice and shiny frets right out of the gate. They're very tall. Now be careful with that because if you have too much pressure on your strings, you can bend out of tune. But even before I ever plugged this thing in, I knew I was gonna like it. There's always certain guitars that once you feel them for the first time, you just know they're gonna be good. And this was one of those for me. Or maybe you could blame it on, I haven't played a Stratocaster in a while and I was kind of looking forward to something different. But this whole blackout look straight on the fretboard, but yet you still have like this bone colored material on the side of the neck is really cool to me. And it matches everything that you've got going on here too, as far as being blacked out. But on top of that, the pickups that Guitar Center chose to spec these with, they sound great for someone like me that likes humbuckers, but really enjoys that nice traditional single coil sound. This has that really raunchy neck pickup in it. And then having the humbucker just for some tradition is always good too. But on top of that, I just love the satin nature of this finish. It's So velvety smooth. So I really would highly suggest checking one of these out if you happen to see one at a store near you. And thank you, Chad, for sharing yours with us. That way we could discover how fun of a model this one is. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed, learned something new, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.